if you were listening to the NFC or AFC Conference Championship games this weekend on this station, for the earlier game, the Packers going up against the Falcons, and of course the Falcons just blew out the Packers, you heard the great play-by-play voice of Kevin Kugler from Westwood One, and Kevin's kind enough to hop on and give us a few minutes right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Kevin, appreciate the time, and how are you?
I'm great, Zach. Good to be on with you again.
Well, thank you for coming on, and we appreciate it. I thought we were going to get two really good games this weekend, and I know the playoffs, they haven't had a lot of good games. We've only had two really good games in the postseason, and that was the Sunday of divisional weekend. When you were seeing that thing unfold in Atlanta, were you at all shocked by the way that this wasn't a close game?
Yeah, I was surprised, not necessarily that Atlanta won, because obviously you're the home team. You've got the most prolific offense in the National Football League. You're a team that's to be reckoned with no matter where you're playing and who you're playing, and being at home certainly helped that. The way that it unfolded, however, I was very surprised. The fact that they were able to essentially shut down that Green Bay offense until, for all intents and purposes, this game was in the bag for Atlanta, that was the biggest surprise to me, especially considering the way Aaron Rodgers and that offense had been clicking during their 8-game winning streak.
I thought the win was very fitting in the fashion that it occurred, just because no one saw that coming, the blowout fashion win, and no one really saw this Atlanta run coming this year. I know they were 8-8 last year, and they had a good start under first-year head coach Dan Quinn, but no one before the year started was picking them to go to the Super Bowl. How are they able to do this and have this much success this year?
Well, there's a couple of keys when it comes to this Atlanta Falcons team. At first, it's the diversity of the offense that I think is a big plus for them. They've got Matt Ryan playing at his peak level right now. You've got Julio Jones, the best wide receiver in the National Football League. And you have a running attack that can also be a passing attack. You have Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman out of the backfield, who not only can run the ball and combine for over 1,500 yards during the course of the regular season rushing, but they also combine for over 850 yards receiving this year. So you've got that dual threat from those two backs in the backfield that helps that offense. And then the other key with this Falcons team, and that people really aren't talking about, and I don't blame them for that, because this offense is so prolific, it overshadows almost everything else. But Dan Quinn's defense has been improving since their bye week in Week 11. It's not a great defense, but it is a much better defense than what they had for the first 10 to 11 games of this season. It got better and better as the year went along, limited teams to fewer points and fewer yards than they did in the first half of the season. And as that defense got better, it made that offense even more prolific, because the offense didn't need to score as many points as they did because the defense was shutting teams down. They went ahead and scored anyway, a ton of points, an avalanche of points in the postseason. And I'm telling you, this Atlanta team is for real, and it's not going to surprise me at all to see them give the Patriots a really good game and maybe hoist the Lombardi Trophy in 2 weeks.
No, there's no doubt about that. When you get to a Super Bowl and you're a team that puts up that many points, you're going to have a chance to win the trophy. And I know New England, and I'm a Patriot fan, but New England has been on this crazy run since 2001. And I just expect this to be a classic game, but you never know what could happen, just judging off what happened this past weekend. Getting back to the quarterback, though, he's always been a good quarterback, and sometimes I believe that he's been unfairly criticized, and I've always liked the game of Matt Ryan. This year, though, having a career year, first-team All-Pro, should be the MVP. When you look at him on tape and you prepare for him, I know we mentioned the diversity, but with his game individually, what have you noticed change from years ago in the league to the year that he was able to produce this year?
No, he's certainly much more comfortable with what he's doing. He's good in the pocket, which is helpful, and I think that's something that you learn in this league as you go along. You learn how to manipulate the pocket a little bit so that one step to your right, one step to your left keeps a play alive a beat longer, so that somebody like Mohamed Sanu or Julio Jones or Taylor Gabriel can get themselves open, which is obviously going to help with your passing numbers, because if you're able to buy a little bit more time and find those receivers, that of course helps those numbers. He's been much more careful with the football this year than almost any point in his career. Only 7 interceptions. He hasn't had one since December 4th. I mean, he's just so crisp. But it's, again, what's made him good is not only his grasp of the game, his grasp of the offense, but the weapons that he has at his disposal. He's never had an offense that had this many weapons for him to work to. I mean, you don't just all of a sudden turn on the light and go, oh, I'm really good, now I'm going to throw a touchdown to 13 different wide receivers over the course of the season. You've got to have guys who can actually go and make plays, and they got Taylor Gabriel who can make plays, Mohamed Sanu who's making plays, Julio Jones You saw him on that sideline touchdown to start the third quarter for the Falcons when really they just punched the Green Bay Packers in the gut. That was a huge key for him. And his tight ends, who have not been Gronk number-esque, but Austin Hooper and Levine Toilolo, both with a couple of touchdown catches on the year. They've combined for over 30 catches. I mean, there's just so many different targets that he has this year to work with that he's been able to make himself better because there's not as much pressure on him all the time to get it done. If there's a problem, hand off to Devontae Freeman, hand off to Tevin Coleman. It's the fifth best rushing attack in the National Football League. This offense has so many weapons, and Matt Ryan has managed it so well. Not to say he's an offensive manager a la Alex Smith always gets accused of, but he's managed these weapons in such a good way that everybody's happy, and it's made this offense the most prolific in the league. And honestly, one of the best in NFL history. The numbers all stack up with those Rams teams of Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk, the greatest show on turf.
We all know the number one weapon is Julio Jones, and you saw that displayed on Sunday, 180 yards. And it's funny, in both games you saw both receivers go for 180 and 2 touchdowns. And if you would have told me that before the week, I probably would have guessed, though, it would have been Julio Jones and Antonio Brown. In the other game, it was Chris Hogan. How about this improbable story of 7-Eleven always open Chris Hogan?
You know, it's remarkable when you watch the Patriots. And we talk about, Matt Ryan with all these diverse options and guys having great seasons. It seems like every year Tom Brady is able to find somebody and develop them and help them develop into a star when they most need somebody to become a star. I'd love to say the story of Chris Hogan is this remarkably unique story, and it is unique to him, but it doesn't strike me as unique to the New England Patriots over the course of this amazing run. It seems like there's always somebody who steps up and you go, well, who's that guy? Because, man, he's having a great run. Well, it happened again, and we'll see if it's able to continue once it gets into the Super Bowl. But, my gosh, the ability that Tom Brady has to find the hot hand and ride the hot hand, or in this case the hot legs, it's remarkable. I hope people appreciate, even with all of the stuff that's gone on and all of the controversy, and I know there's plenty of Patriots haters out there, but I hope people appreciate just what they're seeing from Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. It's a combination that, regardless of what's happened around it, it's pretty remarkable the sustained level of success as Tom Brady has aged. He doesn't look any different. He doesn't look any like age has caught up with him in any way, shape, or form. I keep waiting for it to happen, and it never does.
You're exactly right, and I was just talking about this a few minutes ago, because if you would have asked me before the season, I would have said, Brady could probably go play another 4 or 5 years, maybe even more, the way that he's so obsessed with keeping his body in this elite, top-notch shape and all the things that he doesn't eat and everything that you've heard about him through interviews and through articles. For the first time, though, in a long time, after the game on Sunday, you heard him get very emotional. And when I heard that, I know he's 39 and he probably still has a few more years left. It got me wondering, Kevin, how much longer does this guy actually have? And maybe it started to creep in and think into his mind, maybe this could be the last trip to the Super Bowl, and maybe his career is a lot over and closer to being over than a lot of people think.
Yeah, very well could be. I also took that as a recognition of the fact that this has been, despite the fact that he puts on a really good public face and doesn't really show his hand too often from a public standpoint, I took that as a bit of an indication that this has been maybe a more emotionally difficult year than he's ever let on in the course of his career. I mean, I don't know how you can expect anybody who is proud of his accomplishments, proud of his team, and really prides himself on being one of the best to ever play the game. There's no way that a little emotion doesn't seep in this year, whether it be the emotion of being angry at the beginning of the year at the what you thought was an injustice that had been portrayed upon you in this Deflategate situation, or if it was the emotion of trying to be stoic in the face of all the criticism over the course of the year. I don't know. I mean, it strikes me as we see these guys as football players. They are human, and I think anybody after that kind of a season, when you get to the promised land and that exhale comes, the moment of exhale might also bring a little bit of an emotional recognition. Now, I don't think he's going to go out and bring his blanket out onto the field in 2 weeks because he's emotional and he's sobbing and every moment, this could be the last pass I ever throw in a Super Bowl. But I do think that he had a moment where just a bit the guard went down and he went, man, was this a year? This was a year. And it hit him for a minute, and then he recovered and he moved on because he's Tom Brady.
If it is happen on next Sunday when Goodell has to hand over that Super Bowl trophy to the Patriots, how do you think they'll handle it?
Oh, I think they'll all handle it professionally. I mean, I really do. I think Tom Brady and Bill Belichick will take the trophy if they get it. I think they will be professional about it. I don't think there will be any scene from it because I think they want to and can come across as, look, we're much bigger than all this. We're going to stand there. We're going to take the trophy. Certainly the National Football League is not going to do anything untoward. And they're going to hand the trophy over if they're the winners. And Bill Belichick and Tom Brady will take it, and they'll thank their teammates, and they'll thank the Patriots fans for sticking with them through over the course of the year. And I think we'll all expect there to be something said, some little insinuation, and we'll try to parse out every single word that everybody says on that victory stand if it is the Patriots. And at the end of the day, I don't know that we'll find anything there other than if we're really just trying to apply our own feelings to what's being said.
Now, I agree with you on Brady and Belichick. I guess your best chance is actually to get something from Kraft, either whether it's Robert or Jonathan. And it may not be at the Super Bowl, but it may be a few days after. If I'm a betting man, that's who I think would be the two people that would maybe take a shot at the commissioner, even though they're supposedly good friends. But I bet you that friendship has definitely changed a little bit over the last few years, as we all know.
Well, it may very well be. That'll have to wait to be seen. But I do think we'll have a controversy-free victory celebration if it is indeed the Patriots that are up there in a couple of weeks.
In terms of Brady and Belichick, this run has just been unbelievable since 2001. You don't see runs like this in sports. Clearly, you need more, and it definitely helps when you have an all-time great coach and an all-time great quarterback. And we talk about these unsung heroes that just show up in the big games. How does this team do it from someone that covers the league for so long like yourself?
It's remarkable. It really is. I mean, because what is this league built for? This league is built for turnover. This league is built for parity. This league is built for, okay, this team's good this year, but don't worry, they might fall apart and your team can be good next year. That's what Pete Rozelle wanted out of this league. That's what this league was built for. That's what this league has provided, quite honestly, over the years. Look at the beginning of the season. Patriots and Cardinals played on Sunday night in the first game, and everybody looked at that game and said, potential Super Bowl preview. Look what the Cardinals did a year before. And the Cardinals fell apart and never were really heard from again in any version of contention over the course of the season because this is such a fleeting league. Success in this league is so fleeting. What they've been able to do is, and I think it's underrated, they know when to cut bait on guys for the most part, and they'll cut bait on a guy maybe earlier than other teams would. Well, he's got a year or two left, but we're not going to waste our time with that. We're going to send him away. We're going to get somebody else in here, and we're going to let him grow with some of the older guys that we have around, and then those older guys will lose their touch, in our opinion, and we'll get rid of those guys. It's roster management. You have one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback to ever play the game. You have a head coach who understands how all of that interplay works, and you have the ability in that organization to bring out the very best in players. And guys who are stars become superstars. Guys who aren't stars become stars in New England. It's a really remarkable thing that they've been able to put together, and it really defies what the National Football League has been built on over the years, the ability for teams not to have a dynasty, and yet there they are every year.
And you see it with guys like a Corey Dillon in the past or a Randy Moss, guys that clearly have talent, but they change their ways when they get to New England. And it's just like there's something magical in the water that you take a guy like a Randy Moss who is pretty outspoken in his career, obviously, and then he becomes like a choir boy when he's in New England for a 2 or 3 year run.
Yeah, you really do see a culture that has taken place in New England. And it's similar to a culture that you see in a place like Pittsburgh, perhaps, a franchise that has been able to sustain, for the most part, a pretty long-term run of success in this league. You don't see it too many other places. Seattle's had their nice little run of success over the last few years, but New England really has cornered the market, at least right now, on the ability to sustain in what a lot of people thought was an unsustainable dynastic league. That's not been the case with the Patriots.
Wrapping up with Kevin Kugler, is kind enough to join us right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Watching this Patriots defense, I think they're good. I don't think they're great, and I know they're going to get a lot of credit because some of the stats, and they're definitely beatable. Going up against this Atlanta offense, what do you look for in terms of X's and O's, Falcons offense up against this Pats defense?
Well, when you're talking about the Falcons, you kind of have to pick your poison. What are you going to take away? And it's not as easy as it used to be, because it used to be you'd look at this and say, all right, I'm going to take away Julio Jones, we'll double him, and we'll create somebody else's problems. But Mohamed Sanu is a really talented wide receiver. Taylor Gabriel is a really talented wide receiver. Don't forget Freeman and Coleman coming out of the backfield. All right, have great speed, have great abilities, and can catch and run. It's not as easy as it used to be to try to figure out this Falcons offense. So I look at what the Patriots have to do, and I mean, look, if you're New England, you just try to play sound defense. You try to put a little pressure on Matt Ryan if you can, and you try to force him into mistakes. In years past, that's been easier to do. It's certainly not been the case over the course of the last half of the season, certainly, and really for the most part of the year. He's been an MVP candidate, and he'll be the MVP, in my opinion, by the end of the season when they announce the awards after the regular season voting got done. I don't see any way he's not the NFL MVP, and I think that diversity that they have in the offense is going to make it a tough defend for New England, and vice versa. The Falcons' defensive team, not great. They can be good. They're improved, as we talked about earlier. It's going to be a tough defend for them. I look at the Super Bowl kind of the way I looked at the NFC Championship. I really expect it to be a high-scoring affair. The NFC I was right on one half of the NFC Championship. It was a high-scoring affair for one team. We'll see if both teams show up for the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks.
And I know we all get caught up in Ryan versus Brady and just the way these offenses have been so prolific throwing the football. I think a big key in this game, and one way you keep that Atlanta offense off the field, is establish a running attack, and that's the Patriots offense. We know they're capable of that. The Patriots offensive attack, running the football versus Atlanta's defense and stopping the run. How do you view that matchup?
Well, and that's where Atlanta's going to have to really stiffen up again. I will say this, though. They've only allowed 2 100-yard rushers over the entirety of this season. So it's not like this is an incapable defense that cannot stop the run. They've been able to stop the run, or at least limit the effectiveness of teams' running games over the course of this season. They're going to have to do that again against these Patriots. And really, the Patriots are going to have to do that to the Falcons, because Atlanta's rushing attack, 5th in the league. Passing attack, 3rd in the league. They're the only team that has a top 5 rushing and passing attack over the course of the season. So you look at what the defenses have to do as far as stopping the run game, and it's going to be a very big concern for both of these defensive teams in the Super Bowl.
So, Kevin, what are you doing for Super Bowl Sunday? Will you be in Houston?
I will not. I'm actually doing a basketball game, and then I will listen to the Westwood One broadcast with Kevin Harlan and company on my way back. It'll be and then I will watch the second half when I get home. So I will be doing what millions of others will be doing, hitting the American road and listening to the game on Westwood One.
Well, enjoy a nice beer on us in the second half, obviously, when you get home. And, Kevin, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much. Always fun to talk to you.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate you having me on.